Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning's webinar. I'm Jane from Much Loved. I'm joined today with my colleague Catherine and also Elaine and Shirley from St Rocco's Hospice in Warrington. Lovely to see so many of you here today. Just a bit of housekeeping. We will, as usual, be recording the webinar. You'll be able to access this on your charity support site afterwards. And obviously those that have registered will also receive a copy. We will take questions at the end, but in the meantime, just if you do have any questions, pop them in the chat. That means that everybody can see them and we will revisit those at the end of the session. And I think that's pretty much all I need to tell you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Catherine, who's going to talk a little bit about how Much Loved works with funeral directors with regard to the Much Loved pages that they set up to support your charities.
Thanks so much, Jane. I'm presuming people can hear us and they're there. Haven't had anybody.
Yeah, well, it looks like we've got 83 people. We've had no good mornings. That's a good point. Oh no, we've got a thumbs up there.
Oh, brilliant. Okay,
let's have
super.
a quick look on the chat.
Maybe that's fine. Okay, let's. Oh yes, people are there. Brilliant.
Oh, yeah,
good morning, everybody. There we go. Thank you.
Excellent.
That's super. All of a sudden, I was like, oh, I just wondered if we're speaking to
it's
each
very
other.
Quiet.
Nobody else is. So yes, thank you very much. And as Jane said, we're joined today very kindly with by Elaine and Shirley. But I thought to get going, I would run through a few slides first to give you an overview of how Much Loved works with funeral directors. So as well as charities, we also offer partnerships to funeral directors. And actually, we have over 2,000 branches of funeral directors here in the UK. And it's a little bit different for funeral directors. They create the tribute page for their family and they have a portal, a Much Loved partner area. But as I say, they create those tribute pages on behalf of the family. And the tribute page itself, especially for the funeral director, one of the features is it can post the funeral information with a Google map and information like that, but it can also facilitate the online donation. So for the funeral director, it's a really useful tool to enable the families to have an online funeral notice and an online donation page. But as you know, for those who are using the tribute pages, it's so much more. It's that bereavement space and a tool for yourselves to engage with those families as well. And the tribute also allows the funeral guests to share the memories and the stories with the bereaved family. So actually, it's a way to engage. So for the funeral director, obviously providing the space for the funeral notice and donation page, but funeral guests are able to start using the page and share their memories and stories for those bereaved families. I thought I'd also just share a few of the stats, just to sort of set the scene a little bit as well. So in 2024, there was just over 79,000 tributes created via the Much Loved platform. That's all tribute pages. And donations via these pages in 2024 for charities and good causes was around 29 million. Now, 80% of those tributes were created by the funeral directors. And 70% of all the online donations to the charities and causes come via the pages set up by funeral directors. So it's a really big, as you'll probably be able to see from the stats there, it's a lot of funeral directors are creating a lot of the tribute pages. Now, the averages of donations on pages created by funeral directors, the average is of 400, but we've noticed that with good stewardship, that can raise up to 1,300 per tribute page. So just to keep that in mind as well. And today we're obviously talking about hosting a funeral director event and engaging, and why do that? And we've got a few points here to share about, why have a funeral director event or why engage with funeral directors. So it increases awareness of your charity and it can help build and foster those relationships with those funeral directors. And actually, funeral directors will be key members of the community and they want to be involved and help and support. And it starts the beginning of conversations around potential sponsorship opportunities. And even if they can't attend an event, there's always value in sending them the invitation, getting your charity and your organisation in their minds. And it helps to grow the in-memory income. We can see from the previous slides that, engaging with pages set up by funeral directors, but also engaging with those funeral directors themselves will help build and grow hopefully your in-memory income. And then it also opens up corporate fundraising opportunities. So, as I say, we've hosted previous funeral director events, and all of these great sort of opportunities can often come out of it. So that's kind of giving you a bit of an example of some slides and an overview and how it all works with Much Love as well. So I'm now going to hand over to Elaine and Shirley, who are going to share what they did at St Rocco's and the event that they hosted.
Thank you. Hopefully you'll be able to see our screen. Okay. So yeah, thank you for joining the webinar today. We hope you find it beneficial. I'm Shirley, fundraising manager here at St Rocco's. Before Elaine talks about how we hosted our first funeral directors event, I thought I'd just give you a quick overview of St Rocco's and the services we offer. St Rocco's is based in Warrington and was founded in 1985. So we're celebrating our 40th year this year. We provide a 10-bed inpatient unit as well as an outpatients clinic. And we also offer a range of wellbeing therapies to our patients, from aromatherapy to relaxation. We also have our counselling and emotional support team that hold 2 bereavement cafes each month, and they're really well attended. And also in 2022, St Rocco's became the first hospice to pilot a national community palliative care hub, which supports patients at home. So it's trying to keep patients at home for as long as possible to reduce hospital admission. That is really successful, and the hub is based here at St Rocco's and continues to do really well. To keep all of these amazing services running, we have to raise just over 5.2 million a year, with around 20% of that funding coming from the government. The fundraising team alone have to raise around 1.4 million of that from in-memory donations, gifts in wills, events, things like that. So our in-memory income is one of the largest. We've got a budget of £225,000 this financial year. So we're always looking at ways that we can grow our in-memory income. And Elaine will now talk about one of the ways that Much Loved is helping with this and how our first funeral director event went. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you all here. I'm just going to share a little bit, first of all, about 2024 with Much Loved, which was the first year we were with Much Loved. So our in-memory funeral durations are such an important income stream, and because they're from families that have spent time at the hospice or used our services. So we began our partnership with Much Loved in March 2024, and we raised an incredible £50,000 from our tribute pages in that year. The tribute pages from the funeral directors are so valuable, and in 2024, 75% of our tribute income was from funeral directors setting up tributes. The directors are often the first point of contact with the bereaved family after a death, and they offer help and support at this difficult time, which is really valuable. It's an extremely sensitive time, and we feel we as a hospice have a responsibility to care for our families throughout their bereavement journey, and we know that Much Loved tributes really help. This is from feedback from families. So Kate phoned us from Much Loved and invited us to host a live roadshow for funeral directors here at our hospice in October 2024. She said it was one of the first events of this kind, so we felt very privileged. We spoke about who to invite, and I gave Kate a list of the funeral directors in the Warrington area, and Kate planned the presentation with her colleague Donna, and they sent out all the invites. So now on to the roadshow. We hosted the 2 half-day events here at St Rocco's in our conference room. One on the first morning at 10:30 and one the following afternoon at 1:30 p.m. We know how difficult it is for funeral directors to have spare time, and we did it on Wednesdays and Thursdays, which seemed to be a more quiet time for them. Anything can crop up, and one of them on the day did have to see a client, so turned up late, but we were so pleased to host them here. So on the day, Kate and Donna arrived and set up everything for the day. We served pastries for the morning session, cakes for the afternoon session, and tea, coffee and soft drinks. Much Love provided goodie bags for all the attendees. Everyone loves a goodie bag. So this was a really fantastic opportunity for us here to invite our local funeral directors into the hospice for the event. They were really keen to learn about Much Loved and tribute pages if they were new to Much Loved, and it provided a refresher for those who were already a partner. We were really grateful to have this opportunity to thank our funeral directors for all they do, and to show our appreciation and hopefully develop a strong relationship for the future, to be able to work together to support and help our bereaved families. That's what we want to do. So Maria, our Director of Commercial Development, welcomed everyone to the hospice and began with a thank you to the funeral directors, and she spoke about what their support means to us here at St Rocco's. She also spoke about the challenges we face. Then over to Kate and Donna. They began their presentation and immediately engaged everyone. Presentation provided clear instructions on exactly what tributes are. The benefits to the bereaved family were explained, making the process of collecting donations simpler, helping with the bereaving journey, and also with the funeral notice that they could use to tell their colleagues and friends and family. So the benefits to the funeral directors were also emphasised, not having to deal with cash and cheques and offering something more to help the family. It was explained that tributes can be an important bereavement tool, which I cannot emphasise enough from feedback from families, helping to give a positive focus on celebrating their loved one's life. Brief chat and online chat with a qualified counsellor was also spoken about, an added service there to help if needed. We do use brief chat here at St Rocco's. It isn't widely used, but it's just another tool that, people, if they need any help, they can use. Kate also discussed what tribute funds mean to the chosen charities. Step-by-step instructions were then explained on how funeral directors can create pages for the bereaved family. Kate and Donna also led small group sessions which were adapted to whatever individual groups were interested in. They were all given the opportunity to practice creating their own tribute page. We do have funeral directors in Warrington who are in partnership with Much Loved. One of them raised over £28,000 in 2024. We did discuss with Kate and Donna that we were particularly interested in engaging with one of our largest funeral directors and hoping they would become a partner. It was great that they attended with 3 delegates at each session. Kate shared with them slides of what other teams around the country had raised through Much Loved and what a highly valuable service it is for their clients. The feedback on the day was extremely enthusiastic, and they spoke to us after the second session to let us know that they had arranged a full team meeting with all their staff from several offices to share what they had learned about tribute pages. A few days later, I began to see pages created by them, a great result for all. We have a strong relationship now with one of our funeral directors, Helen Hall in Warrington. I invited Helen to read a poem at our Light for Life event, and she offered to print all the service sheets for us free of charge. She also recommended a celebrant who has also led our Light for Life event for us free of charge. At the end of the session, we arranged for one of our clinical leads, Tracy, to offer a tour of the hospice. This was a fabulous way to show what our hospice is about and was very well received. We had many compliments about the hospice facilities and all we have to offer our patients and their families. We spoke about where the donations are used and showed where they are used and the difference donations make to our patients and families. We feel it's so important to highlight our hospices and let the community see what we're all about. A couple of the funeral director attendees had never even been inside the hospice, so we're really interested to see they only usually come to collect a deceased person. They were really interested to hear about funding and the challenges we faced. There were lots of questions. They said they could speak to this about with all this information to the families that come to book funerals with them and let them know what the difference it makes in the community. So these are just a couple of slides which show 4 months before the event and the 4 months after, and you can see that the income has increased dramatically. In the first quarter of 2025, income from tributes at St Rocco's was £25,000 against last year's total of £50,000. So hopefully we're looking forward to seeing a big increase in that. Just on another note, we invited our fundraising team to listen to the presentation. They were really keen to hear about how sponsored events can be added to the tribute pages. So sharing the information with teams around the hospice, and we have lots of plans for 2025 now. So in conclusion, our experience of holding this event was extremely positive. We've developed lasting relationships with local funeral directors. We've increased in-memory income for our hospice. We've shared what a wonderful place St Rocco's is and engaged with the teams around the hospice to show them what tributes are. It challenged our thoughts about how much more we can achieve from tributes after speaking with the funeral directors and hearing what their thoughts are on tributes and in-memory fundraising, all to help the bereaved families. So we're now going to keep in touch regularly with the funeral directors and look at hosting an annual thank you event. And we'll send newsletters and just keep in touch throughout the year. So as a final word, I'd say we definitely recommend holding an event of this kind. It's been very valuable for our hospice. So thank you very much from here, and if you have any questions about how the event went, we're very willing to share that with you. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. That's really informative and just, you know, some of the stuff that you included just for myself, you know, I just love the content and also that it challenged your thoughts for the future and things like that. And actually it really highlights that funeral directors actually, they want to know more about the charities that are being supported. They are genuinely interested. And yeah, I thought it was really, really great. Now, if anybody has any questions, saw there was one question in the Q&A, which I'll just read out. So so they were asking about funeral directors and when they create the tribute pages, to the funeral director create the tribute page based on the charity. So basically the funeral director creates the page and will choose and include the charity or charities. It can hold, you know, they can fundraise for more than one charity and based on what the family who they want to support. However, if the family haven't thought of a charity, the funeral director may well guide them with the ideas and suggestions. So but yeah, so the pages are created and the family know who they're wanting to support, then the funeral director will pick that charity and add it onto the tribute page. And they can, as I say, they can have more than one charity if needed. That was a question came into the Q&A. If you have other questions, sorry,
yeah,
carry on,
Catherine,
Jane,
there's another one from Abigail Smart. Can I ask the cost for inviting Much Love to come to your hospice and jointly host? Regarding Much Love actually attending your event, it will depend on where you're geographically based in the country. We are always happy to send you merch because, as Elaine said, everybody loves a little goodie bag, and we will do our utmost to support you with your event. So, Abigail, do get in touch with your account manager and you can have a chat with them about the event.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the event's a little bit different. This one that St Rocco's did was a sort of a training exercise as well for funeral directors, for us to sort of help train a sort of a region. But quite often a charity will host an event, invite in their local funeral directors as a very much a thank you, which I think Elaine and Shirley were mentioning. Going forwards, it's going to be much more of a sort of an annual thank you event. Probably some updates as well.
Also, as Elaine mentioned, the fact that the funeral directors have a tour through the hospice. I also attended a hospice event last year, and it was really interesting that so many of the funeral directors had only ever come to that particular door and never actually seen inside the hospice and seen what a fantastic place it was. So I think it's really beneficial for them to see how the hospice works and, you know, the wonderful service that you provide, or any charity really.
We've got an interesting one here from Sharon. One of the main funeral directors uses a different platform and are against moving to Much Love. So any tips to encourage them to move over? I guess I guess it depends on what they're using at the moment, but actually sort of highlighting that the tribute page that on the Much Love platform is actually a bereavement tool. So it's kind of like giving a gift back to your family as well. So and it may be worth showing them a page, or the other thing I would do is let your account manager know who that funeral director is. But you know, I think it's going to be stronger coming from yourselves. You know, it's just sort of highlighting that you can sort of pick up the baton to help support that family going forwards. I don't know, Jane, have you got any other tips for?
Yeah, and to remind people that a tribute page is completely free. So it's a fantastic thing to offer a family because they're always going to have it to remember their loved one. There's another question. There's another question here from Jackie asking, is there a fee charged to funeral directors to sign up? We offer various partnerships to funeral directors. There is both a free partnership and a paid partnership. Both of them enable the funeral directors to create pages for the families, which can help to fundraise for your charity. If there's a particular funeral director, Jackie, that you're thinking about, do get in touch with your account manager and we can then get in touch with the funeral director and explain what is available to them.
And then Vicky, a question, how many funeral directors did you invite and how did you decide which to invite? So over to you, Elaine and Shirley, on that one.
Okay, so it was quite slow at the beginning. Kate didn't get replies, and you know, we were wondering if to still host it. But nearer the time, more funeral directors signed up for it. So it was small groups. We had 6 people at the first one?
Yeah, I think it was 3 funeral directors that attended, but we had quite a lot of people from each funeral director that came along to each session. So I think, like Elaine said, for us it was getting the biggest funeral director in Warrington on board. And they sent 6 people to both events, so that was a huge response for us. We have got a couple of smaller funeral directors that didn't attend, but we've not given up. We're still trying to sort of get in with those, and we've dropped off leaflets. And I think one thing that struck out for me when Kate and Donna came was the way that we see it is that it's like a virtual memory book. So we all have photo albums that, you know, that you keep under your bed, and this is like a virtual memory book. It stays there forever. So that's a really nice way to sell it, we feel, to to our donors, you know, and the fact that they can upload videos, messages. So that was quite a nice way to put it to the funeral directors as well. And I think once the funeral's happened, it's for us then to carry on that relationship with the donors, you know, and invite them to Light Up Alive for our letters to loved ones services. So it's carrying on that relationship with them as well, which I think is hugely important as well.
I think it was quite nice, a small group as well, really, because as I said in the presentation, they could go off into small groups, practice setting up their own funeral tribute pages. And they were chatting amongst themselves. So it was a good networking, you know, experience for them as well. So yeah, it was a lovely event actually. Definitely built our relationships with the directors.
And we did get the clinical team involved as well. So it was a clinical team that gave the tour of the hospice, which was a lot better than us giving the tour.
Yeah.
They were more informative. So I think they appreciated that the clinical team took some time out to show them around the hospice as well, and for the fundraisers to come in on the training as well. So it was a big team effort across the hospice, really.
There's another question here from Claire Kennedy saying, do you find the funeral directors are quite comfortable using the system? I imagine it's a new concept, so wondering how confident they are. Much Love has been around for quite some time now. I think it was 2007. Is that right, Catherine?
Yeah.
And we work with many, many funeral directors around the UK, including all the co-ops, so they are very comfortable using the system. And also we have a dedicated support team, so there's always someone they can call if they have a question. And each of the funeral director partners has an account manager, just as you charities do. So there's always someone around to help them and make sure that if they do have any questions, they can be answered promptly.
Yeah, I think quite often funeral directors that I've sort of spoken to, the thought of using the technology is way more, you know, daunting than when they actually do it. When they log in and realize for the funeral director, it's very simple. There's a button, the blue button that says create a tribute, and they go through a few steps of putting the information in, and then they click it and it appears on their website. They're quite delighted. I think it's it's the thought of it and things like that. So, and change.
And technology.
Change in technology. It's not the things that they're most inclined to always jump out to do.
Yeah, we saw quite a few test pages set up from the new funeral director, and then once they got going, and having checked in with them, I think they're finding it quite, you know, an easy thing to do now. So
that's like a lot of things, isn't it? The thought of like, gosh, the thought of the unknown is always daunting, and then when you get going, you know, it just becomes so easy. And then when they realize all the benefits, so for the funeral director, there's, you know, they can see there's lots of other tools there for them, so they can see a full report of the donations that have been made and things like that. And there's lots of, you know, computers, so they can it's very easy for them to generate the QR code to go on the order of service and things like that. So there's additional tools that are just automatically generated for them that are just there for them. So, and it's all in their partner area. So yeah, no, it is it's good.
I think they could see the benefits for the clients as well, you know, what the service offers them. I think that was really good for them to they fed that oh, this is marvellous, really.
There's also a question here from Helen about is it possible for future events, is there a video we can show them about, presumably about tribute pages? Is that right, Helen, that you're sort of keen for a video more about sort of like Much Loved? We do have a new 1-minute video, but I didn't know if you meant a video more about sort of you know, sort of more in-depth sort of information about Much
hang on,
Loved.
Catherine. She said here, yes, as in the setup for a new FD. Or if, Helen, if there's a particular funeral director that you're working with and you want them to come and work with Much Loved, if you can ask them to get in touch with us, or if you want to let one of us know who they are, we can get in touch with them and give some information to them about how it all works. Who else? What other questions? Sue Diamond. It's tricky to keep. Hang on a minute.
Also something about, I'll let you.
Sue Diamond. We work across the UK, but with a small staff resource. Has anyone done a virtual event with funeral directors? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, has anybody done a virtual event?
Yeah.
I tell you what I have seen. I've seen a charity do a small video clip about their charity, which they've then shared. But I don't think I've heard of anyone doing a virtual funeral director event as such. The technical side might be a bit of a challenge.
And to be honest,
Probably.
I think a funeral director event is good to do live, because as Elaine and Shirley were saying, it's nice for the funeral directors to do a bit of networking as well. And I think you get way more out of it from, you know, them actually visiting the charity, because they can see what it is you do.
Yeah, I guess the challenge is if you're a national charity, or as
True.
you know, national charity, or you know, got lots of, don't really have a head office or as such, do you know what I mean, or a base. But I guess there's ways to sort of engage, maybe in your own type of roadshow. I don't know if that's a possibility of sort of having a look at your reports and actually sort of networking with a few funeral directors. I guess the thing to do is trial and error. That's how we all learn, isn't it? Is sort of trial a few things, maybe get in touch with one that's local to the head office or something like that. And get involved that way. Has anyone else got any experience, if you're a national sort of charity, of engaging with funeral directors and what's worked for you? Amanda put a hand up. How do we unmute Amanda?
That's a good question.
Right, hang on a minute. Let me see if I can unmute her.
While you're doing that, somebody else asked, oh yeah, do funeral directors need a membership, or can they log in without a login portal? No, funeral directors do need to have a login. If you know of a funeral director that's interested, just ask them to get in touch with us. They can do so. They can support at muchlove.com, explain what they're looking for, and then we can get that organised for them.
I think, Amanda, you might be able to unmute yourself now. I could be wrong. So if you do want to unmute yourself, I believe I've given you that, but you've got your hand up, I'm not sure.
Or you could pop something in the chat box, Amanda, and then we can all see it. Whilst Catherine's doing that, Courtney's also asking, Elaine, did you get any feedback from the funeral directors as to what information from the event they found most useful?
The feedback on the day was they could definitely see the benefit to their clients and themselves, really. But yeah, they're just enjoying having the extra tool, really, and they were just so impressed. The group that we wanted to get involved, they came up at the end and arranged that full team meeting, and they were like, we've never seen anything like this. So yeah, they were straight on board, really. I think because it was a live event and they could chat, share, try setting up the pages themselves. So they were all round impressed, to be honest.
Excellent.
So you've got some more questions in the Q&A. So Amanda White, could we consider inviting funeral directors who may already have established relationships and collaborate with other charities? I was wondering if, in your experience, funeral directors tend to prioritize the charity they initially contacted the most. No, I think that they are open and willing to support more than one organization. I think that there's no harm in establishing and building relationships. And actually, there was the earlier question of who to invite and how many to invite. if you've got the space and the resource, I would invite all your local funeral directors, because often on the day they might not be able to attend and things like that. But if you've got the space, then actually it is a nice opportunity. But no, I think, Amanda, that establishing relationships, absolutely. I don't know if it would make a difference, but it's always worth having a chat and finding out, and making that contact. Let's have a look at another one here. Does anyone have any idea on how a national charity could host an event like this? So this is another one. This is from Beck. Lloyd, I see how well it worked for the hospice with the local angle, but was wondering if this is more challenging nationally. Yeah, I think it would be for an in-person event, but I don't think that should stop that engagement in any way. If it could be in other ways, i.e. sort of with cards, sending out a thank you, showing the recognition to funeral directors as a whole, and maybe even trying to get into, there's sort of funeral publications. So if you can get into something like that, maybe, and engaging and sending a thank you, there's different ways, and sort of thinking a little bit outside the box of maybe engaging in other ways.
Isabel's asking, what do funeral directors gain from networking with other funeral directors? Well, I'm sure they appreciate the opportunity to speak with other people that are doing the same work as them, and also to share experience and what the challenges that they face every day. So I think it's definitely probably beneficial and very enjoyable for them to get to spend a bit of time with other funeral directors. And at an event like this, they can also speak to the charity that they are helping to fundraise for.
Got a question here actually for you both, Elaine and Shirley, from Emma. And it's like, sorry if I missed the question earlier, but how many funeral directors did you invite and how many people were able to attend? So how many did you invite versus those that attended?
We invited all the funeral directors in the Warrington area, and I think there were 3 lots of funeral directors that attended. Some of them are very small funeral directors in Warrington. It's not a big town, so sometimes you just can't get away. I think it's difficult for them to fit it in their day, really. It tended to be the larger funeral directors that sent 2 or 3 people along.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And another question, Elaine, did you link to the bereavement support at the event so that funeral directors could signpost families? You mentioned Grief Chat wasn't widely used, but would you consider it to be valuable and safe for families? If I can just pop one comment in, somebody said to us once, it's easier to type, sometimes it's easier to type than talk. So I think you should always bear that in mind with Grief Chat, because sometimes people can't say things, but they can type them.
Yeah, I noticed that January, just after Christmas, was the most widely used, because sometimes if you sat at home feeling low, it's useful then. It's just different times, isn't it? You can't always phone a counsellor, but you can just start a little chat. So yeah, I thought that was the most used of our Grief Chat. Just an added tool, isn't it, for people as well? Some people don't like to chat face to face. Different generations, I think, are used to chatting online.
And I guess it's the instantness of the Grief Chat as well. You might feel that you just want to speak to someone there and then, and actually during the hours of Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m, they've got somebody at the end of a conversation. They've got somebody there to talk to. Actually, Alexa's replied to Kelly's comment about, did you link to the bereavement support at the event so that funeral directors could signpost families
we did
for support?
Yeah.
And it sounds like that Alexa did at Maggie's with regard to bereavement support as well. So that's, you know, just having the signposting and the tools there as well.
And just to let you all know as well, Grief Chat is included in the Optimum partnership with Much Loved, but also all the funeral directors we work with are able to make use of Grief Chat as well.
So hang on, there's another question here. So will our account manager be able to tell us? And I've got to find the question, hang on. You can see on our account manager. Where are we? Right, so will our account manager be able to tell us which funeral directors in our area are currently using Much Love? So you're able to source this from your reports as well. So the account managers could, but what they would do, or the way to source this is actually in your Much Love partner area, go to reports and click on a tribute report. And when you go in there, you're able to select which field you want to export. You can untick all the other fields if you want to, but make sure when you click in, so you click in the download button and then you can choose the columns. There's the top, I think it's the first one or the first or second one, it's actually source. So tick that box. So go into your Much Love partner area, go to reports. You can tick a tribute report, but untick all the other boxes and tick source, and that will pull through. I'm pretty sure it's source anyway. It will pull through all the funeral directors that are supporting you. Just use the filter. So you might want to, you know, click all, or if you're you know, and so the time frame that you're pulling the reports from, so you might say, actually, I want to see which funeral directors created pages in the last year, so you can use the time filter, the, you know, the date range filter. But yeah, so go into the reports, click on the tribute report, and then choose the option of source. And I'm pretty sure source is the one that pulls through the actual funeral director.
It is,
that's
Catherine.
been creating, and then you've got a whole list there of all the funeral directors that are that have set up the tribute pages supporting you. So,
and one last question that we can just about fit in before we have to finish. A question for St Rocco's. What percentage of in memory of donations came from tribute funds last year? I'm not sure if you actually mentioned that already, Elaine.
We from the funeral directors tribute funds, 75% of all tributes came from funeral directors. So yeah, it just shows.
Yeah, it's a lot.
We should engage with them and thank them for all that they do. Really.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? And that sort of relates to the stats that I was on some of the slides, that even here at Much Loved, out of all the tribute pages created, the sort of 70-80% that are actually created by funeral directors, that's where the pages are initially created, and it's then, you know, the opportunity for you as charities to engage with those funeral directors, but also, you know, thank them. You want to encourage the funeral directors to continue that, because it gives you that tool and that platform to kind of pick up the baton and continue to support those in memory supporters going forward. So yeah, and I think that it's you know, it's amazing.
We share I think we share that what we want to do is make the grieving process, you know, as easy as possible and help people. So working together with funeral directors is a really good way as well.
Brilliant. Well, I think that I think we've answered all the questions there, and I just want to thank everybody for your time this morning, and also especially to Elaine and Shirley, who have shared, you know, kindly shared their experience of hosting the funeral director event and everything that came with it. So the recording of this session will be available on our charity support site in the next day or so. And yeah, thank you very much indeed. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Oh, Sinclair Hospice are definitely setting up an event.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, fantastic. Really, really useful, really interesting.
Brilliant. I think we've still got lots of thank yous coming in, so thank you very much, everybody.
And lots and lots of different charities as well, which is always great to see.
Yeah, it is nice to see. And actually, you know, because we've done the events before, even on the charity support site, there's previously recorded webinars as well, so you might share those as well at some point. So it's really lots of lovely thank yous there. So That's
That's
great to
good.
see. Yeah,
Yeah.
really much appreciated. So thank you so much, Elaine and Shirley, for your time. I think we'll end the
Thank you.
the
And your
meeting now.
technical expertise as well.
Yeah, absolute
Oh.
smooth. Went really well.
You don't know what's going to be asked, really, but yeah. Thank you.
Thanks very much
Bye.
indeed.
Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to